I was driving alone in snow, in deep snow in heavy snowfall when I heard you made that comment on quantum dance. It cracked me up so bad I almost skid. I hope you're okay. I hope you didn't completely skid. Tell us a bit about how the US made the Philippines its colony. How did a post-colonial state end up owning its own colony? Post-colonial state, the US, ended up owning a colony of its own. The Philippines. Where is the Philippines? Let's go to the maps quickly and find out where the Philippines are. The Philippines are over here, north of Indonesia. This archipelago. Okay, that is the Philippines. South of Taiwan, east of Vietnam, across the Champa Sea or the so-called South China Sea, and north of Indonesia, and that's the Philippines. So the Philippines were occupied by the United States. Okay, how did that happen? Well, you see, for the longest time, the Philippines were occupied by Spain. Spain. Then the Filipino people said, we are tired of Spanish occupation and colonization of Philippines. The evil, nasty people. So the Filipinos rose up in revolt against Spain. And they fought the Spaniards militarily, and they set up a parallel rebel government in the Philippines. 1898 or somewhere. At the time, the US also fought the Spaniards. And they defeated the Spaniards. And then they signed a treaty in Paris, the Americans with the Spaniards. In this treaty, they gave the US gave Spain $20 million or whatever it was to purchase Philippines. And completely disregarded the fact that the Filipino people had set up their own government. So the Filipino people had set up their own government in the Philippines, but the Americans simply bought the Philippines from Spain after defeating Spain in a war. The Americans do this. They buy the Louisiana Purchase, the Alaska Purchase, the Philippines Purchase. Now they're talking about the Greenland Purchase. They simply do that. So they bought the nation and the people. They bought the people to the Americans. This is the history of the Americans. Okay. So 1898, they buy the Philippines from Spain. And then the Filipinos say, no, we will not be treated as a possession. So they fight the Americans. And that fight goes on for a while. And the Americans do all kinds of nasty, brutal things to the Filipinos. Okay? And that's how the Americans made the Philippines their own colony. And they imposed English on the Filipinos, and they imposed further Christianity on the Filipinos, and the American style of education, and so on. And this entire situation went on until the Japanese occupied the Philippines in the Second World War. Eventually, Japan lost, and 1945 or thereabouts, the Philippines were freed again from the Japanese, come again under American occupation. And then the Americans say, okay, let's move out of this place in 1946. So 1946 is when the Philippines actually become independent, but they still have American naval bases and so on, Subic Bay and whatnot. So that's the short form of the story of how the Philippines became a colony of the Americans.